Hello, I'm Peter Fernandez with another Superintendent's Corner. This is our third podcast. Glad to be doing another one. Sitting across the table from me is Mr. Saxton. And today we're going to be focusing more on one issue. It's going to be about the strategic planning meeting that was put into effect about 2 weeks ago. I'll open the floor if there's anything you'd like to say about it.
Well, you said this is our third podcast?
Yeah.
So hopefully we're getting pretty good at this. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we got to figure it out after 3 times. So strategic planning. It's one of the goals of strategic planning is to come up with, as they describe it, as our facilitator Paul Pendleton describes it, one big massive hairy goal. But strategic planning is actually one big massive undertaking. So maybe a little walkthrough of how we got to that planning retreat that you were part of. So it goes back to August. The administrative team, the Board of Education, met with Paul Pendleton and Dr. David Kircher, who are from Finding Leaders, who go across the state and facilitate strategic planning, and just talked about the process. The next step was in late summer, we identified 10 influential leaders throughout the Boardman community who were connected. And we sat for about an hour and a half and we decided who do we need to reach out to. Each person was challenged to come up with about 10 to 12 names in different sectors of the community: financial, real estate, business, police, fire, township, political officials, you name it. And then from there we reached out to about 120 people and asked them to come to a kickoff meeting in October. And I believe you were at that meeting.
Yeah.
Small auditorium at Center. It was early October. I think we had 85 people there. It was just tremendous turnout. Showed what great support the leaders in Boardman have for our schools. From that group, then we went to a small breakout meeting in December. Met again with Dave and Paul Pendleton and talked about how to do some small group breakout sessions to get input from the community. So that happened all throughout the month of December and into early January. We created an online survey that was open to anybody, and we had these small breakout sessions. They also ran small focus groups. And so we gathered about 500, 600 data points through that time, and then took that, put it together, looked for some common responses, made sense of all that data, and that's really, again, where you plugged in. On January 14th, we took the day, got off site, and had what they call a strategic planning retreat. And I believe we had about 45 people there, when it was all said and done. And we took a look at that data and tried to figure out, okay, where do we go from there? Mm-hmm. One of the interesting things, if you remember, my opening statement was, we call it the room of truth. The doors are shut. Yeah. People need to be critical friends. They need to be open. They need to be honest. Mm-hmm. And we needed to hear how people felt. And I tried to make sure they felt entitled to be open and honest.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to.
No, I was going to ask you, what'd you think of that? As here's these adults, 4 students there. Yeah. So what'd you think of the process?
No, I think it was interesting to see different people's perspective on the community, because you had so many different areas of the community coming together. There was like some 80 odd people, and then it turned into like 40 odd people from completely different walks of life, completely. Right. Different jobs, different areas of Boardman coming together to talk about the problem. So my question would be, just so that everybody else knows, what was some of the reoccurring, problems that were in the survey were brought up by the community?
Great question. So what we try to do is look at themes, look at common occurrences, common input from those different sources. And if you remember, let's break it down a little bit. The first thing we looked at was looking at the data, what do people value? If you remember, we created all those flip charts and we tried to, again, bring it all together to aggregate it. So we came up with about 7 or 8 values, and it was raw, and we knew that. Uh-huh. We didn't chisel it down to nice, pretty language. It was raw. And if you talk about the values, people value the academics, the arts, the athletics. They value pride in the community. They value the diversity. They value the wide, diversified curriculum.
Yeah.
They valued independent or individual pathways for learning. So those are some of the issues. And then from there we went to what really is our vision, and we already had a vision statement, which was together we transform lives through academics, athletics, and the arts. So we kept that. That was probably the easiest part.
Yeah.
And then the hardest part was really working what our mission was. If you remember, that took some time, and what the mission was, that big hairy goal we want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And if you remember, we decided what we want to shoot for by 2025, 5 years from now. We want to be the highest performing district in the county, but not just in academics, but also in athletics and the arts, because that ties into what our vision statement was.
Yeah.
And then finally, needs. So I guess trying to answer your question, it's pretty organic, it's pretty large, so we try to put all that in together. So there was all kinds of different concerns. They were all over the map, but that kind of plugged into needs, values, mission, and vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
I don't mean to ramble, but
no, you're good. Yeah. So like the decision making going into this mission statement, do we have a clear set of goals or objectives to get to this mission statement yet, or is it still we're still planning? Like, I know we have this meeting at the end of May for the schools. Is that to help get to this big hairy goal that you talk about?
Well, actually, there's a piece that you don't know about. Yesterday, we took the administrative leadership team and we met again with Paul and Dave Kircher. And what we did is we took all of the output from that strategic planning retreat and chiseled it even more. Cleaned up the language, looked for things that maybe repeated themselves in the needs and the values. So we got down to about 6 value statements. We got down to obviously the mission and vision. The vision was fine. Mission statement we cleaned up, and pretty much just says what I said earlier, that we want to be the highest performing district in academics, athletics, and the arts. And then we were able to chisel the need statements down to 4.
Yeah.
And the need statements really is what's going to drive the process from here on out, because you take the needs, and this is where we'll be reaching out to the community again, because we want action teams under each category of the needs.
Yeah.
And the action teams will be driven by the vision, the mission, and the values. So at first it's all this stuff, but it all ties together. And just to kind of bring that to some closure, the needs that we worked on yesterday were really in 4 categories, and we identified 4 people to take the lead. One is communication and community pride. If you remember, that was a hot topic.
Yeah.
This concept of community pride, is it down, is it up, what does it mean? You remember that was a common reference. And actually, someone who's behind the scenes here, we won't look at her, but Mrs. Radinovic is going to take the chair and the lead on the communications and community pride. We also took a look. One of the things that we saw, like you said, what were some of the concerns coming out of the community, is a need for real world classes. We have to define what that means. There's a concern that people don't know how to balance a checkbook, how to do laundry, maybe, basic home repair. That was a strong input from the community, that make sure graduates can do these basic, we call them life skills.
Yeah.
Skills needed for a successful life after graduation. So that is chaired by Mrs. Fernback, because it's tied into college and career readiness. So we call it college, career, and life readiness. So we'll take a look. What are we doing? What can we create? The next need was that push for that individual learning, not just for students that may be identified as gifted, because that's mandated by the state and federal government, and for your special needs students. But what about all kids? Shouldn't there be individual pathways? So again, that's going to be chaired by Jared Cardillo, our Director of Instruction. He'll take a look at that. How can we do it for all kids? And then the final piece was facilities, which is always a hot topic, and safety upgrades. That will be chaired by Matt McKenzie, who's our Director of Operations and oversees maintenance. So we'll take a look at that. Obviously, there's budget constraints there.
Yeah.
But that really was the output from all. So that's where we are right now.
Yeah. So that last point that you made, the safety and the upgrades. I know at the meeting we talked about maybe constructing a new building or upgrading older buildings. So what was there a final consensus on what the plan was for that?
And actually, that's a great question, because that's the next step. So now that we have the need defined, we have a leader for that need, what we'll reach back out to is the 80-some community people, the 40-some that went to the planning retreat, and ask them to be on one of these 4 committees defined by the needs. They'll become the action teams. They'll create action plans. So they'll make decisions for the next 5 years. So what do we really need to do? You know, for example, discussion about parking's a mess at West Boulevard. So where does that fit in? Do we solve that next year?
Yeah.
Do we continue this idea of secure vestibules or man traps, whatever we want to call them? Do we need another type of security? What about replacing a building? How do we do that? So they can start to, community input, school input can start to build these action plans, and that's what we're going to hold ourselves accountable to. And now to bring it all together in the spring, what we'll do is take all that work, invite the community into the cafeteria like we've done the last 2 springs for different issues, and say, look, this is what we've done. We'll present it to you. They'll do the final chisel, a little polish, a little tap here, and now we have a great working plan.
Yeah. So these 40 people will be in charge of these committees. So let's just say I'm not part of these 40 people. How do I get in touch with these 40 people or these committees because I have a problem with so and so, whatever it may be? So how do I get in touch to voice my concern about whatever it may be?
Well, the first thing we'll do is the 40-some people that were at the, I'm assuming you're talking about the people that were at the planning retreat.
Yeah.
They'll have the opportunity to volunteer for a committee, so not all 40 will necessarily do it.
Yeah.
We need about 6 to 8 people per strategy, which is per need. So you're looking we need about 30 people. So we'll offer that first because they've shown that they want to be part of the process. I think that's important.
Yeah.
They've given up time and they've been dedicated to the process, and they deserve to be on that. They show that they're dedicated and want to be invested in the success of the Boardman schools.
Yeah.
We'll also reach out to the 80-some that showed up. Now, some of those are the same 40. From there, we'll get our teams. But then it'll be up to that individual team to stay in constant contact with the community.
Yeah. Well, because I'm just saying as a part, I'm saying if I wasn't a part of any of those 80 people, how would I get in contact and voice my concern to the people that are making these decisions or making these plans for the future, like these committees? Yeah.
No, it's actually a really good question. So you're saying, how would someone who's been on the outside now sees one of these action plans?
Yeah.
There's really going to be 2 components. One, if they attend our State of the Schools meeting in the spring, there'll be opportunity designed into that meeting for additional community input. And that'll be the people that are outside that 40 or 80 group. And those committees will have ongoing communications with the public. How that will look, that's a good question. Probably it could be email based, it could be social media based, but there will be ongoing connection with the community because that's really what's driving it.
Yeah. So that's all I got. Do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about or say today?
I'd say, it's not every student. There was 4 students. We were very blessed to have 4 high school students as part of that process. So just curious, just your reflection. I mean, you're rubbing elbows with adults that were anywhere from 60 to 30 to 40 from all walks of life. That's not a typical experience for a high school student to see behind the scenes how this is going. Just, I don't know, if you reflect back, what's 1 or 2 takeaways you had? Maybe you're like, wow, or, ugh.
Yeah. I think for me, it was really cool to see different people's perspectives because people are older than me by either a little bit or a lot of it. I talked to people from different walks of life and getting their input on the community and what the school system should be doing or what Boardman as a community should be doing was very interesting to me because, I'm a student here. So I walk the halls of Boardman. I live in the community. So I see my perspective. But getting the different perspective from different people, it was kind of an eye-opener for me. But then also coming together with these people from different walks of life and seeing that there is a need for certain things. We agreed on certain things, and yes, we disagreed on some things, but seeing that we agreed on we want to do better as a school. We want to be number 1 in the county, or we want our academics to be soaring, you know what I mean? To agree with people that are different than me, I think is a big takeaway for me. And that, I know we talked about diversity. We want diversity in the community.
Right.
And seeing that diversity in opinion, seeing that diversity in
The group there.
in the group, and still coming together to want to better the community was really awesome.
A couple things that when I hear you talk, we've had a philosophy over the last couple of years that iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
People sharpen each other. So when you have that diversity, what you don't want is we're banging and dulling that blade. But we have very dedicated people, very intelligent people, very hardworking, very successful people in Boardman, and we can tap that potential. It makes us all better.
Yeah.
And the last thing I would say, it is not because this is a podcast in Boardman High School. The thing that always has to drive this is always about student success. That's why it was important to us to have students there and students that were able to give genuine input.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a school if you don't have students. Take the students out of here. All we have is a building. It's not a school. It's just a building.
Yeah.
So, but if you have a bunch of students, you can still have a school. So that's important to us that students are a part, because really that's why we're doing this, to make your experience here better, and obviously make your entire experience the most successful it can be for everyone. Oh,
Yeah. So thank you for joining me today.
always a pleasure. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
is.
So if you'd like to get in contact with some of the groups that we talked about today, be sure to check out the Boardman website, email. Would you like your not your personal email, but
And my school email's right there on the website. They can reach out to myself if they want to find out more, but we'll have a dedicated part on our website for communication and for updates. So stay tuned and look for that.
Yeah. So check out the website. I'm sure it will be linked in the video. So thank you for joining us for another Superintendent's Corner. I'm Peter Fernandez from BSTN, signing out.